Hi, so we're going to cover three things in this video. We're going to cover how we can approximate the value of your own home, looking at what is on the market or what is selling nearby, what to watch out for, that's important, the mistakes is quite often made. And the third thing is what an estate agent should be looking for when valuing your property. It's going to be very quick. It's not going to go into any detail, but it's going to give you a rough idea on what to look at, especially if you're just someone that likes to scroll through Rightmove or Zoopla and other listing platforms to get an idea of what you want to buy in the future, or looking at what your house might be worth just out of curiosity. So let's start. So this is one of the properties that I've sold recently. Now, it's really worth looking at this location. It's a small little pocket of Leigh-on-Sea in Essex. So what I'm doing here is looking at how there's a row of bungalows. This street is all bungalows. This location is pretty much known for it. This road here is generally speaking quite expensive. It's quite large detached homes are back onto woodlands and to a nature reserve. So that's kind of different. But right here on this little pocket here, it's all bungalows. Some are semi-detached, some are detached, and we get a really good indication. It's a very local market, very similar. So these are the things, this would give us a really good indication on if you live on a standard kind of road. If you live on a more unconventional one, again, that's a video for another time. But if you're looking at something that's like for like, a lot of people are, this is kind of a video for you. So how do we evaluate? So I know this property sold and what it sold for. Everyone's going to know on the street and locally if they're looking that this property came on the market and it sold. Now, obviously, that's just a filter here. Look at what's sold locally. That's a good one to keep your eye on. And especially if you're looking at approximating your value, keep that filter clicked. Now, I know what it actually completed for. No one else does. The buyer, the seller, and the solicitors do, of course, but no one else in the market does. Now, another estate agent might be valuing one around the corner, but until the land registry comes out on that, they don't know what that value is. So it's something to be cautious of. A good value, a good estate agent will come to you with a set of examples. They'll tell you that properties have sold, and this is what they've sold for, not ones that are on the market. If they come to value your property based on ones on the market, I'll show you why that's a problem. You can fall in the trap of being led into a false sense of security or believe that your home is worth more. It's good to look at competition, but it's also good to understand what's actually selling. So one of those things is that no one's going to know land registry, so they should tell you what's selling because that's really important. Those properties have sold. They've gone to the market at this price. They have found a buyer. The land registry information is really important because that gives you a good indication on what the completed information is. And that's essential when coming to sell your home because we know that those properties have sold and completed, and a valuer for a lending company, so when the bank comes to provide a mortgage for your buyer on it, they're going to be using land registry information, not what your local agent has sold for around the corner or not what that property is on the market for around the corner. They do not care. They do not look at it, and they will stick to quarter of a mile. There's other details which we'll go through in another video, but kind of that's really the important part of when someone comes to value your home. It's based on realistic and information that's going to make sure that your life is so much easier going forward. So here's where things get a bit complicated. So say that you live on the corner of this property here. Your property, you believe, is actually done up to a better standard. This one sold here, so it's sold for 375. But my house is a 3-bedroom. It doesn't have a driveway to the front, but it is modern inside. It potentially could at some point. All of those things can be taken into consideration. So I'll allow for the fact that someone's got to put in a driveway, but my house is more modern than the one around the corner, and it's got an extra bedroom. Therefore, I feel I'm £25,000 worth more in value, which is about right. To be honest with you, that is about right. So this property is on the market at 400 to 45. So they're pushing people upwards, which it's harder to do in this market because things are more competitive, but it's not bad. You're guiding people where you want them to go, at least 400, you're kind of saying. Then we've got some really interesting information. So we're here. We know that's sold. This is the only one on this street that's sold so far. So I'll take this off so we can actually see what's on the market. So opposite, we've got another 3-bed bungalow. This one comes with a garage and a driveway to the front, but they're trying to sell theirs for £500,000. They don't have the same frontage, it's a slightly different style, but it's north-facing garden. That's got a south-facing garden, but they're trying to push for £100,000 more, and they're using the same thing, the guide price. So if you were a buyer, what do you think you would gravitate towards? You know, you've got £100,000 to invest in your property on that one. Right, it won't give you a garage, but how much is a garage worth unless you convert it? That's potentially got the space on the side. We can see here, we've got side space to convert if we wanted. So your space is the same. You've got £100,000 to spend on a property that's already modern. So how far would that £100,000 go as a buyer? you're more likely to gravitate towards the £400,000 one, much more likely, in fact, as a buyer from what we know as estate agents. And as you would look objectively at, it's probably one that you would prefer to look at. In fact, it even comes down to things like marketing. Like we can see here, grey cloud skies. They've been clever. They use filters and light in the skies. It looks like a bright and much more welcoming property than this one, which looks a bit gloomy and a bit dull. That's marketing. That's different. I'm not going to cover that today. Then we go down the road. Now we find another two-bed detached property. Mine's a two-bed that's sold here. Now, two beds just opposite. This is now on the market. It's detached, but they're trying for £550,000 to £600,000. This is pushing people way above their budget. So it's already a two-bed. Now, arguably, you could extend into the roof. You could knock it down, build a new house, but that requires investment. Now, how much would it cost to knock off the roof and put a new level up? You could be looking at somewhere up to £50,000 to £100,000, could be even more. Therefore, is it a £700,000 property in that area, or would you just go out and buy one? And in all honesty, these ones are back onto the Woodlands that range between that value, and they don't come with the investment of needing to knock off the roof on your house. So there's a good argument that this is going to probably struggle. This being on the market with two agents, two different photos. Drone footage always stands out a little bit more, I feel. But they've used this on for 575, same property, which is quite a good indication of making sure that your estate agents are not only valuing your home right, but also making sure they're keeping an eye on it, because one of these guys haven't been keeping an eye on it. In fact, this property will probably be getting a lot more viewings than this one will, because why would you go and view with the agent at 575 if you could view with the agent at 550? So we're making sure that we're valuing. Now, where does that leave you as a seller? If you live in this bungalow here, what is my property worth? I've got a 3-bed semi-detached property. We know that's on for 400,000. We know one sold here, and that was on for 375. This one's on for 425. What are we basing our pricing off of? I'm a bit stuck. Well, objectively speaking, if you had a 3-bed bungalow, you know that there's one opposite at 400,000. Yours might offer a driveway and a garage. This one doesn't. Therefore, there's more room to push up to 425. However, what we know also is that this property is not selling. And it's one to keep an eye on when you're valuing it. So if it's been on the market 4 or 5 weeks, or it goes on longer, we're often and most likely in this market to start seeing reductions come through. Therefore, if you were bringing your property to market next week, would you go on at 400,000 because that's on at 400,000, or would you base it on what's selling? Now, the reason we cover this is because if you go on and yours is as good, offers a little bit more, if you had the 3-bedroom with the garage and the driveway, you could go on for 400 to 425. You're going to get the viewings. These guys won't, because you offer more already. You've ticked the boxes that this one can't tick. For example, we're obviously basing this off of a photo. I'm not going to go into detail for someone else's advert, but that's kind of how you need to look at it. So these guys aren't selling, but if I go in at the same level, I'm going to take any buyer that's potentially looking at that. I'm definitely not going to, I'm definitely going to take all these guys from these people that are pushing their properties way too high. If you had a 3-bed and this one's 500,000, I'm selling next door, and you go, well, look, this one's 400, that one's 500,000. That's not selling. That's not selling. Mine offers somewhere in between. That's where you can get a rough idea on value. Now, this is where it's important. So look at the lowest property in the market and work your way up from there, not the highest. Look at how long it's been sitting on the market, and definitely toggle these filters. These filters are so important to toggle because it gives you a really good indication on price. So as for example, again, this one here, 2-bedroom, different style, 440,000. You can see it's quite modern inside. That's sold. So we know that the range is somewhere, depending on what you can offer on a property, we're going into detail, is somewhere between 440, depending on the quality, somewhere between 375 to 440,000. That's going to attract you to buyers. Where do you sit within that? These guys have decided, well, they don't have a driveway, we don't have this, that would require investment. Therefore, we're going to go up to 400,000 and still keep ourselves competitive. These guys have gone, no, we're going to go on to 500,000, and it potentially doesn't make sense. What throws this out is if that's sold, but right now we know that it isn't. And this is where historic information comes in. So making sure we know what's selling, and that's so important. That's unfortunately very hard for you as a seller to find out. We've, as agents, have got the information at our fingertips to go back to 2000, well, really 2004, 5, but 2007, 2008, on the historic information on Rightmove. Land registry updates itself. There's other tools out there that give us really good indication of property sizes, square footage, all those things that we need as a valuer to value your home. So you can get a rough idea. You can base it. So on here, we know that 2 properties have sold on this estate. Recently, 440, 375, 375 for Daisy, 440 for Done. Where do you sit within that? And that's kind of how you need to look at it. where the estate agent could come in and go, well, look, based on your size, your quality, based on the historic information that we have and what the completed data is, we think we should value you here, and that's where it should be aligned. So if you'll be within a certain region and your expectations would be met, I think, if you look at this objectively. So it's something to be aware of. Hopefully that's helpful. There's going to be other videos on different things on this. Hopefully that is something that can help just when you're scrolling through your phone in the evening.